What's up, guys? Welcome back to Tailgate Talk, episode number 2. Sorry about my audio last week. It was pretty bad for the first 30 minutes because I actually forgot to turn on my mic. It was using my computer's mic, but hopefully I have my mic on now and it's sounding wonderful. Before we start this rant, how about we actually introduce ourselves because we didn't really last week. We just kind of gave them our names, but let's give them a little history of who we are. You can start.
All right. Well, my name is Brian Oliver. I live in Bakersfield. I don't go to school. I work for my mom full time. I am a superintendent for her construction company. So that's cool. And yeah, I just love sports, mainly basketball and football. What about you?
Of course, my name is Logan Harris. I'm 21. I go to Grand Canyon University. I'm going to be a senior next year. I went to middle school, junior high, and high school with Brant. And I played football in high school. That was my top sport. I loved it. And I tried to play college ball, but it was too small. There's a bunch of big guys. Couldn't get on any teams. So I just decided to stop playing, but I'm still an avid sports fan. And yeah, so let's get into this podcast.
His three-pointer is intercepted at the goal line. Always Williamson is in the lane. Look out.
So we're first going to talk about the Masters.
Yeah.
How was that, Brian?
Well, the Masters was phenomenal. I mean, if any of you guys didn't hear about it, I'll just let you know what happened. Tiger freaking Woods, man, happened. Tiger Woods won it for the first time in 14 years. He beat Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, and Xander Schauffele by one stroke, shooting -13 for the whole tournament. That was his 15th major overall and his 5th green jacket or 5th Masters. It's just, I'm a huge Tiger Woods fan. I'm not the biggest golf fan in the world, but I'm a huge Tiger Woods fan. And I was just so thrilled to see him win that one. He deserves it so much. I mean, all the stuff that he went through with the prescription pills, the DUIs, the cheating on his wife, her breaking his car, and the divorce. Everything that went bad was cleared up with that win on Sunday.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Over a decade of not winning the Masters. Finally gets it.
Yep, it was insane. And another insane thing was last night, the Warriors lost. My Lord, I never thought I would say that. The
Pumped
Clippers,
about that.
Clippers beat them 135-131. They erased a 31-point deficit to win in the fourth quarter. The Clippers actually shot a outstanding 59% from the field in the second half, which is insane. Insane. They outscored the Warriors 41-23 in the fourth quarter. And smooth Lou Will, he had 36 points. Montrezl Harrell and Neo Gallinari had 25 and 24 respectively. And Patrick Beverley got under KD's skin a little bit, got him to foul out, which was huge. I mean, the Warriors obviously missed him on their final possession, not being able to get a shot off. But all in all, I still think Golden State's going to win that series. I mean, Golden State is Golden State. You know what I mean? Like they're not
definitely.
They're not going anywhere. One game isn't going to phase them. But kudos to the Clippers, though. That was a hard-fought game, and it was a very, very, very competitive game.
It was crazy, though, that they did beat them in Golden State.
Yeah, that is insane. I thought that, the Clippers might have gotten one, and it would be in L.A. I never thought that they would beat them in Golden State. I mean, I didn't think they were going to win, period. I thought Golden State was going to sweep them. But, crazier things have happened. We saw the Warriors give up a 3-1 lead to the Cavs in the finals. So, you never know.
If the Clippers can win at least 2 in LA, we definitely got a series in our hands.
Oh yeah, definitely. If they win the next game, the Warriors are in trouble for sure. They seriously need to take this series seriously. Wow, I said series. Wow. But Yeah, the Clippers just played great in the second half. I mean, the Warriors were literally drumming them in the first half. Like there was no game being played. It was just, it was all Warriors. I mean, they were up by 31 at one point, and they just kept clawing their way back in, and finally the Warriors fell through and collapsed.
Good freaking game, man. High scoring games, both of them yesterday. My goodness.
Yep.
Each team scoring at least 123.
Yep. Philadelphia beat Brooklyn last night as well, 145 and 123, which that was a
That's
crazy game
insane.
that was a crazy game as well because Philadelphia, I mean, nobody thought Philadelphia was going to put up a bunch of points because I mean, their lack of three-point shooting is horrendous. Like Ben
Yeah.
Simmons, dudes literally stand in the paint when Ben Simmons has the ball on the perimeter. Like that's how sad this is. You know what I mean? And they put up 51 in the third, broke an NBA record for most points in the third quarter in the playoffs, which is insane. I mean, I never would have thought that the Sixers would have done that. I would have thought that it was going to be the Warriors that did that last night. You know what I mean? And
Seriously.
also, Jimmy Butler didn't even have 10 points. Like, what? Like, Jimmy Butler's their best scorer. He didn't even have 10 points, and they put up 145
Seriously.
points. Imagine if they would have, imagine if Jimmy would have been getting his, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think the Philadelphia 76ers are in a good position now. After losing that first game to Brooklyn, it's tough. I mean, you never want to go down 0-1 in the series, especially when you're at home, and
Yeah.
they needed this win mentally more than anything, I think. And it was a great win for Philly. They showed how truly good they can possibly be with this starting five, and they're going to be scary if they can play like that.
Yeah, losing to the Nets probably just lit a fire in them. They just wanted to come out scoring as much as possible.
Yep, I agree with that. Some more NBA action
But the other
happened over the
games,
weekend. So it actually started off with Brooklyn and Philadelphia playing. Brooklyn ended up beating Philadelphia. And then Orlando upset Toronto as well. See, now that Orlando game, DJ Augustine
that was a
went
shock.
off. DJ Augustine is clutch. I didn't even know he was in the NBA still. I mean, I thought I was sitting there watching this and I was like, dude, is that Jameer Nelson? No, wait, no, that's DJ Augustine. I was like, holy crap, I haven't watched a Magic game in a long time. But yeah, they went the Raptors shot 12 for 36 for threes that game. They got to be better in game two. Game two is tonight. So I'm eager to see what Kawhi Leonard and the Toronto Raptors will do tonight. San Antonio upset Denver. There was quite a bit of upsets this weekend in the NBA. San Antonio held Denver to a horrendous 38% field goal percentage. That is really bad, especially in the playoffs, and especially for a team that in a Denver team that they get a lot of their points at the cup. You know what I mean? Like they should be shooting high 40s, maybe even close to 50. But they shot 38%, which is awful. They also shot 21% from the free throw line, which is not going to cut it, especially in a close game. The score was only 5 points at the end. It ended up being 101-96 in San Antonio's favor. And with that win, Greg Popovich became the winningest head coach of all time in NBA history.
Yeah, their highest scorer only had 20 points from Gary Harris.
Exactly. That you just got to be better. I mean, Nikola Jokic has got to get more involved. Gary Harris has to score more. Jamal Murray has to score more.
Was with the Spurs, not a single player got to 20 points, but it was very distributed. Like Aldridge had 15, DeRozan had 18, Forbes had 15, White had 16, Gay had 14. So there wasn't like a single player to spot out. It was a very team-based game.
Oh yeah, I'll agree with that. The Spurs have always played like that. Even when, they had Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, nobody was really scoring 30 points a game. It was more of everybody's getting involved, everybody's scoring 15 points. And it's really deadly when your whole team gets involved. You're just moving the ball around. And I think they had close to 30 assists that game, which is outstanding. If you want to set a goal for your team, you want to set it at, high 20s for assists. On to the next one. We got Boston and Indiana. Boston actually won that game in a very, very low-scoring game. It was 84-74.
Yeah.
Neither
It's
team
like a
really
college game.
shot that well. There was good defense being played, but both teams shot under 40% from the field goals. Kyrie and Marcus Morris led the way for the Celtics with 20 points each, but that was about it. I mean, nobody really, did that much for either team. It was a
Pacers'
pretty
highest score. Pacers higher. Sorry, I'm tongue tied right now. The Pacers' highest scorer was freaking Joseph with only 14 points.
Yep,
Corey
Corey
Joseph.
Joseph. Yep, and that is not going to cut it in the playoffs. I mean, 74 points. The Warriors scored 73 points in the first half last night. So,
My God.
just to give you some kind of context on what needs to happen in the playoffs, and the Warriors still lost. So, if you're Indiana, you can't be going into games scoring 74 points and expecting to win.
Imagine if the Pacers played the Sixers and the Sixers still scored 145.
Yeah, that would be insane. I mean, they would almost double their score. they would have won by 70.
Yeah.
Portland played Oklahoma City also this weekend. They ended up snapping their 10-game playoff losing streak by beating the Thunder 104-99. Damian
10
Lillard.
games.
Damian Lillard really tried to set, the tone by shooting a 32-foot three-point jumper to start the series. It's nothing but net. He ended up with 30 points, shooting 5 for 11 from the field, and the entire Thunder team only went 5 for 33 from the three. Like that is just not going to cut it. Paul George did have 26 points, but he shot, I think it was 3 for 17 in threes. Russell Westbrook had his usual triple-double, but that's just not going to cut it. I mean, Russell Westbrook is a great player, and his triple-doubles are, great to see, and it's good that he gets his stats or whatever, but Russell Westbrook needs to take over. I mean, Paul George is seriously hurt. I don't know what is wrong with Paul George, but if you watch him on the sidelines, this dude is wrapped up like crazy. He's getting iced on every single part of his arm, his left arm. I mean, it's insane. He literally looks like Spider-Man out there. Like, it's nuts. And Russell Westbrook has to see that, and he needs to take over. He needs to say, you know what, this is my team. Like, I need to take over, and I need to score 30 points a game. He needs to get back to that point. And, I mean, 18 points I think he had is not going to cut it, and the Thunder bench just needs to get better. I mean, the Thunder had the least amount of bench points that they've had in 30 games this season. Like that is just horrible. I don't think that the Thunder are going to win this series if they keep playing like this. Now on to Milwaukee versus Detroit. This one wasn't really much to talk about. I mean, Milwaukee won 121-86. Pistons didn't have Blake Griffin, probably won't have Blake Griffin for the rest of the series. Milwaukee's just going to go through Detroit like nothing. I mean, offensively and defensively, there was nothing Detroit could do. They looked lost out there, especially without Blake Griffin. I mean, Blake Griffin is, he's scoring 25 points a game this year, and without that, the Pistons are lost. And especially when Giannis is out there, getting a near triple-double, scoring close to 30 points a game,
Giannis is too good.
Yeah, Giannis I don't know, him or Harden is the MVP this season, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Speaking of Harden, Houston beat the Utah Jazz handily, 122-90 in their first game. James Harden led the Rockets, and their great offensive outing. And they shot 50% from the field, and they also played some pretty suffocating defense, forcing 19 turnovers. And Utah's a pretty sound team. I mean, they don't turn the ball over that much, so that was surprising for me to see that. But James Harden, he is just something else offensively. I mean, he can do everything. I don't think we've seen a player like James Harden ever. Like he offensively, I mean, he's just phenomenal. He can shoot the three almost as good as anybody in the league. I mean, Curry's probably the only person that's better than him. and he can get to the rim like anybody can in the league. I mean, he's one of the greatest finishers. He is a 85% free throw shooter. So if he gets to the rim, gets fouled, that's automatic 2 points almost every single time. And I mean, he has a mid-range jumper and he knows when to pass. And he has a big man like Capella who always finishes at the rim. That is just a recipe for success. And Houston winning by 32, there's no shocker to me there.
Yeah, definitely. I just hope Jazz can win at least a couple and make it all interesting here. But with
Yeah.
the Pistons aren't winning a single game in my opinion.
Yeah. The Bucks, I mean, I don't know if you watched that game, but they looked really scary,
I
dude. I
did.
mean, the
Yeah.
Giannis, Giannis or whatever. I don't know if it's Giannis or Giannis, but whatever
I
it
think it's
is,
Giannis.
he jumped from the free throw line damn near. His foot was like 1 foot inside the free throw line, dunked it like nothing. He could have easily jumped from the
Well,
free throw line.
yeah, definitely.
But that was some great NBA action this weekend. And tonight we got Orlando in Toronto, game 2 in Toronto. We'll see if Toronto can bounce back from that game 1 loss. We also got San Antonio versus Denver in Denver. We'll see if Denver can bounce back from that loss. And we also have Portland OKC in Portland. We'll see if Portland can go up 2-0 in that one right there.
After watching all of these games, does your opinion change on who will win any of the series?
That's a good question. I mean, see, my biggest okay, after the weekend, on Monday, I was feeling like the Nets had a real shot of beating the Philadelphia 76ers. After seeing last night's game, I don't really know about that anymore. I mean, I thought that the Nets were just going to pick and roll the Sixers to death, and they were just going to, take advantage of Embiid and Boban, the big men, that they can't do
Yeah.
anything on the perimeter. And, the Nets are a great three-point shooting team. They're a bunch of guards. So I thought that they were just going to, play a perimeter game, but they really didn't last night. And the Sixers just dominated. So,
Yeah.
that was one thing that I thought. I thought the Sixers had a real shot of losing this series, but now I think they're probably going to win in 6, maybe 7 games. I don't think it'll get to that long, but probably 6 games. And then
Whose
I
performance did you like better, Harden's or Giannis's?
yeah, see, that's tough. I mean, they both played amazing. Giannis played a little bit more of a all-around complete game than Harden did, but Harden just, he was dominant offensively.
I'm
And
gonna have to go with Harden too, just because the Jazz seem like a more difficult opponent than the Pistons.
yeah, that was another thing I was going to say is Harden, he's going up against Donovan Mitchell or Joe Ingles. They're throwing all kinds of guys at him. Giannis, it's like there's really nobody that you can throw at Giannis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nobody can try to defend that guy. Blake Griffin probably would have been the best defender on him, but they don't have him. So I mean, that's just tough. I think Giannis is going against easier competition and he's playing a more complete game. But Harden's just. I mean, I'm a Harden fan. If I had a vote, I would vote Harden for MVP. I am not a big fan of Giannis, okay, I'll take that back. I am a big fan of Giannis, but I'm not a big fan of the MVP going to the best player on the best team. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
it seems like every single year, with the Warriors, like Curry getting his MVPs. Yeah, his MVPs were kind of deserving, but he wasn't the most valuable player. You know what I mean? And that's just always what I go back to is like, okay, who would be more valuable to their team? Like if you took Giannis and put him on the Rockets, do you think that the Rockets would be where they are now? No. I have full-hearted, belief that they would not be where they are now. They would probably be the 8th seed in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Well, why do you say that?
Well, for one, I mean, Harden scored 36.5 points a game this year. and he didn't have Chris Paul for 45 games. So
Are you saying if the Rockets had Giannis in place of Harden?
yes.
Okay, I was thinking you were meaning having both
No,
Harden and
no.
Giannis.
I was saying in
But
place.
they'd be on fire. They
Oh
would be way better than the 8th seed.
Oh yeah, no. But I was saying if Giannis was in place of Harden, I don't think the Rockets would be better. I think they would be worse. Yeah. So I mean, what I was saying was, I think that if the Rockets had Giannis, they would not be nearly as good as they are now. Meaning, if Chris Paul was out, he missed all those games like he did during the regular season. I don't think Giannis could lead the Rockets like Harden did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
Harden went off during the regular season. I mean, he literally put his team on his back, and he shouldered all the load. He scored 36 and a half points a game. And I mean, nothing to knock on Giannis. Like I'm not trying to knock Giannis at all. He's a phenomenal player, deserves the MVP, just not this year. I don't think. I mean, there's plenty of years in front of him that he will get the chance to win the MVP. It's just I don't think that the writers should give Giannis the MVP just because he's the new guy on the block. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Basketball, you can definitely win with one person, and like Harden is one of those people. Like when LeBron took the Cavs to the finals, like who else was there to help him out?
Exactly. I mean, and that's just something that in other sports it's not as prevalent. Like you can't
football. You need an
football,
entire team. You can't win with just a quarterback.
Even Tom Brady.
If you do not have a good offensive line, then your quarterback's just going to be terrible.
Yeah, and like I mean, if you look at the Patriots don't just have Tom Brady. You know what I mean? They have great players around him. They have good running backs that can also catch the ball, that fit within their scheme. And that's another thing I think is it's all scheme. You know what I mean? And especially in the NBA. Now, I mean, just look at what the Warriors did. The Warriors transformed the whole NBA. The Warriors changed it from post up, back to the back. You need a big man type of game to, okay, now you don't need a big man at all. You can just shoot threes and win the game.
Yeah.
And that's insane because, I mean, the NBA has never been like it is now. And, players like Harden are just taking advantage of it. And players like Giannis are actually not, they're not it's not that he's not taking advantage of it because he is taking advantage of the soft defense on the inside, but he's just not taking advantage of the three ball. Giannis needs to get better at the three ball, in my opinion. Same thing with Ben Simmons. I mean, Ben Simmons is horrendous. He needs to get better at the three regardless of anything. He can talk about the fans, because the fans will boo him, when he has the ball at the 3-point line, and he'll say, "Oh, if you're going to boo me, stay on that side." You know what I mean? But dude, the fans are booing you because you don't work on your game.
Yeah.
They're not booing you for no reason, my guy. Come on. They're booing you because you're trash at threes, and you can't even sit there and physically shoot a three. It hurts. It hurts to watch you shoot a three, my guy.
A fan's never gonna boo you if you're doing good.
Exactly, and that's the bottom line of all this drama with the 76ers. Is like, they always get back to the fans, and it's like, dude, the fans hate you guys because you guys never freaking play your heart out, and you guys don't give them what they want. They want a championship. You know what I mean? Like, look at what the Eagles did for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
The city of Philadelphia. Give them a championship, and maybe they won't boo you guys.
Yeah, for real. Not to change the subject, but I was also a happy camper last night because what the Dodgers did. I don't know if you heard about that. Again, it's Jackie Robinson Day, not just the biggest day in baseball, but the Dodgers just won in amazing fashion. We were tied in the top of the ninth, 2-2, but then Jansen, of course, goes around and blows the lead. We're down 3-2, and I was like, that's probably game. We haven't been really scoring at all this game. And then what happens? Jock Peterson we had a guy on first, I believe, smacks a homer into right field. We won 4-3. I was happy about that as well. So yeah, just give him a little snippet of baseball. It's just thought it was an amazing way to win on Jackie Robinson Day, biggest day of baseball, especially for the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. Didn't they play? Did they play the Reds last night?
Yeah, it was also a big game too
Yeah.
because freaking Puig and
Puig,
Kemp
right?
are on
Puig's
the
returning.
Reds now. So
Mhm.
and Puig hit a 2-run
Yep.
homer off Kershaw in the first inning.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he pimped that one.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still not happy about that trade. It was just an awful trade. We got literally nothing out of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, hindsight is always 20/20, right? I mean, we can always look back and say, yeah, they made a mistake here, they made a mistake there. But when they made that trade, they were trying to free up cap space for Bryce Harper, right? So they were trying to, they were thinking that, hey, we have a real shot at bringing this guy in.
Yeah.
We could possibly turn our team, make us a, real contender. Because, I mean, they've been to the World Series, 2 out of the last 3 years, right? Or
Yep.
or 2 out of the last 2 years or something like that. And they just need that other piece. You know what I mean? Like they need one more piece, and Bryce Harper was that piece. Sadly, they didn't get him this year, but everything works out for a reason.
Sadly, they need a bullpen, and our team just never likes looking into bullpen players for some reason.
They need to get rid of Kenley Jansen, bro.
I agree, honestly. If we could get someone good out of him, I would not mind getting rid of him. I love the guy, but just lately he just likes blowing leads here and there, so it's not fun to watch.
Him and Kershaw, man, they just crumble under the bright lights.
All right. It's the beginning of the season, so I have no idea how we're still going to be doing. There's like 150 games left or something like that still. So let's move on to the draft because that's coming up next week.
Yeah, we are single digits, bro. 9 days away.
Yeah.
Single digits.
And what sucks is I'm pretty sure on April 25th, which is the first day, yes, I'm going to be driving 7.5 hours from Phoenix to Bakersfield, so I don't know if I'll be able to watch the first round or not. I'll probably just have to look at
I'll text you
highlights
updates.
and stuff.
Don't worry.
But yeah, next Wednesday will be my last day of school, so I'll be coming back next Thursday.
Well, that's pretty great. All right. So we got with the NFL draft, we have our top 5 players at each position, offense and defense. We don't do special teams on this podcast. Kickers are not people too. Sorry, Nathan. But offense and defense, Logan's going to do the defense. I'm going to do the offense. We'll start with defense because this draft is insanely loaded at defense. Logan, you're up.
Okay, so my top position out of this whole draft, I believe, are the edge players and the D linemen. There are just so many good defensive line and edge rushers. It's insane. I feel like, honestly, you could go all the way through the full 7 rounds and there will still be some good defensive guys you could pick up. I'll start with the inner D linemen. I got my top 5 here. My first one, I got to go with Quinnen Williams. He's just a big monster that he's definitely from Alabama. You always get some good players out of Alabama. Almost every time I see someone coming through Alabama, they're usually good when they get drafted, and so he's going to be my number 1. Also got Ed Oliver. He's also a beast for Houston. He was their best defensive lineman in my opinion, and he's just going to be good all around to whoever picks him up. Next one, I got Jeffrey Simmons. He's from Mississippi State. Didn't watch too much of him, but I heard a lot about him. Heard he's great, so I've got him in my 3rd position. Next up, I've got Christian Wilkins. Was a big fan of Clemson's defense last year. I thought they played pretty well. So I've got to go with him on number 4. And lastly, from Notre Dame, I've got Jerry Tillery. Also, didn't really watch much of Notre Dame, but Mike Mayock was talking a lot about this guy. He just said this guy is going to be really good, and I was a huge fan of him. Not very tall, but he's just sometimes that's a good. Sometimes that could be a good thing. You could use that as leverage. So I'm gonna go. I have to go with him at number 5.
My
So,
favorite player out of that whole position right there, definitely going to be Quinnen Williams.
oh yeah,
I just think he's going to be a monster.
yeah, definitely.
If you look at the tape, this dude gets double teamed, sometimes even triple teamed. He lines up in the nose guard position a lot, so he's going against centers and guards.
Yeah,
And the dude literally just bulldozes people. I mean, he is 6'2", 265 pounds of pure muscle. Like the dude is insane. And not to mention, he ran one of the fastest 40s in for all of the defensive linemen in this NFL draft. So he's an athletic freak. You better watch out for him.
all right, so edge rushers. This is my favorite position in the draft right now. Number 1, I gotta go with Nick Bosa. Anytime I think of the edge rushers for this draft, I immediately think of Nick Bosa. He's just an all-around great player, great guy, has a huge history of family in the NFL, and I just think he's going to play really great. Next up, I got Brian Burns from Florida State. This guy's a monster, had 10 sacks last season, and I think he's going to be pretty good as well. Third up, I've got Josh Allen from Kentucky. What I like about this guy is he kind of looks like a corner, but he plays like an edge rusher. Like he's like a little bit on the skinnier side, I believe, but he's gonna be pretty good because he's fast. He can get around that edge, and he could just mess everyone up, gets that quarterback. That's my number 3 right there. Next up, I've got to go with Cleveland Farrell. Same thing goes for him. He's a tall, lengthy guy, but he's also pretty big as well. He can get around that edge fast, and he's going to be pretty good. That's my number 4. Lastly, I've got Montez Sweat from Mississippi State, another Mississippi State guy in my top 5. I had Jeffrey Simmons, and now I've got Montez Sweat as my number 5 for the edge rushers, and I'm excited to watch this guy play. I think he's going to play really well.
Yeah, I love Montez Sweat.
Yeah, 12 sacks last season. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I like Josh Allen the best out of all these guys. Maybe that's just the Jet fan and me praying that we draft him, but I mean Nick Bosa obviously he's going to be a monster, but Josh Allen, if you look at Josh Allen's tape, you know, that fool, he's so fast. Like you don't even see him hardly. Like he's that fast. The offensive tackles in college, they could not keep up with him. They would take one step and already be beat, you know.
Yeah.
And it was just it was fun to watch, you know, because Josh Allen loves to get after the quarterback, and I'd love to see what he does in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely excited to see all these guys get drafted. It's gonna be a good draft for defensive players. I'm excited for it, and for the Steelers, I don't really know if they'll go edge rush. I really believe they need some DBs, but I say that every year and they usually don't go with it. I mean, they have before with Artie Burns, but he hasn't really been as great as people expected him to be, so they still need to go into the corners and try to get one. So with that, I'm going to talk about the corners. Top 1, of course, has got to be Byron Murphy from Washington. Um, Anytime
Mm-hmm.
I was watching highlights from College Saturday, this guy was always popping up. A super tall, fast guy. He's just crazy fast, and I really like this guy. I'm a huge Washington fan too. That's why I was able to watch him a lot. He had 58 total tackles last season, had 4 interceptions, which is pretty good. And yeah, that's my number one. Second one, I've got to go with Greedy Williams. This guy was amazing as well. I still like Byron Murphy over him, but I definitely think this guy is pretty good. He had 33 tackles last season, and he only had 2 interceptions. But his freshman year actually he had 6 interceptions, which is pretty crazy. Um, Third guy, honestly, I'm not sure how to pronounce this guy's last name, but it's like Amani or Aru. Man, this guy has a hard last name. It's Oruwariye. Awari. I'm just gonna say it like that. He's from Penn State. Um, I haven't really watched anything on him, but I've heard good things about him. I watched some highlights of him. He looks pretty good. He had 50 total tackles last season and 3 interceptions. Some pretty good stats there. Next up for number 4, I've got DeAndre Baker. I really like this guy. I think he's going to be good. He's from Georgia. He had 40 total tackles and 2 interceptions. He could try to improve on his interceptions a little, but whoever picks him up, hopefully he gets a good DB coach that can help him out. And last up, I've got Justin Lane from Michigan State. And I haven't watched too much on this guy either, but he had 72 total tackles last season, which is pretty crazy. That's a good amount of tackles. Only 1 interception, so hopefully he can work more on getting the interceptions. But if you need someone that can get a lot of tackles, this is definitely a guy you can pick up. So those are my top 5 for the DBs. What do you think, Brant?
I love the Byron Murphy over Greedy Williams. I actually, on my list, I have the exact same 1-2 setup as yours. I got Byron Murphy number 1, Greedy Williams number 2. Everybody loves Greedy Williams in this draft, but I mean, I don't know. I really like Byron Murphy a lot. It's maybe it's just the physicality that Byron Murphy brings and the size, but I really like Byron Murphy.
Yeah, definitely. He's honestly that's kind of been one of the number one guys I'd be stoked to see go to the Steelers. But the Steelers are very high in the draft, so Murphy might be taken before then. Who knows? It depends on how
Right.
many people need corners, but there's a lot of edge and D linemen that are going to go, and then maybe offensive line, and then probably some corners, but I'm not sure. He might. I don't know if he'll be taken before then or not. So I got 2 more. I'm going to talk about some safeties and some linebackers. Going to go in my top 5. So for my first one for safeties, I've got Chauncey Gardner Johnson from Florida, and he had some pretty good stats. He had 71 tackles and 4 interceptions. So good amount of tackles, good amount of interceptions. I like this guy. He's going to be my number 1. And then next up, I've got Nasir Adderley from Delaware. And I don't have too much on this guy, but a lot of guys were picking this guy for like their top 3. They were saying he's pretty good. And I think that honestly, hopefully, he'll just be one of those guys that is kind of an underdog because he's from Delaware. It's not very like crazy good school, but a lot of good players come out from small colleges. So
Yeah,
I
like
could,
Khalil Mack came from
yeah,
Buffalo.
yeah, I could definitely see this guy being good.
Yep.
Next up, we've got Deontay Thompson from Alabama. Of course, who doesn't know about this guy? He lit up the highlight reel for Alabama. He was really good. He had 78 total tackles and 2 interceptions last year. And this guy's going to be good probably anywhere he goes. So I'd be happy to pick this guy up as well. Just as much as I don't like Alabama, they just really know how to move guys onto the NFL, and there's a lot of guys from Alabama that are good in the NFL now. And then lastly, I really like this guy. He really helped out Maryland's defense. Darnell Savage. He had 98 total tackles last season and 6 interceptions. This guy's stats are crazy. But the reason that I do have him at number 5 and not higher is because he is from Maryland. He probably played some lower schools, but definitely still some crazy stats, and this guy's going to be really good. Definitely watched him play a lot. I'm excited to see this guy play in the NFL. And that's my top
Let me give
5
you
for
one guy.
safeties.
Let me give you one guy that's a safety that you should definitely keep your eye out for. Jonathan Abram, okay? Went to Mississippi State, played with Jeffrey Simmons and Montez Sweat. This dude is an absolute baller. Baller supreme. Like super baller. This dude flies around the field. I'm telling you right now, he's going to be the next Jamal Adams or Derwin James.
Yeah.
He's that good. I will tell you that right now. Go ahead, book it.
Yeah, Brant mentioned him to me, and he said he was on the Lefko show, which I actually did watch or listen to that podcast episode, and I like this guy. He's funny and seems like he's going to be a good player.
Yep. I don't know how high he's going to get drafted because I mean, a lot of people aren't really hyping him up. I don't really see his name out there a lot, but keep your eye out for him. Maybe in the second round or late first round he could go, but for sure keep your eye out for Jonathan Abram. He's going to be a beast in the NFL.
Definitely, I agree with that. Okay, so lastly, I've got the linebackers. Number 1, gotta go with Devin White from LSU. This guy's monster with 123 total tackles last season.
Holy
and
cow.
133 the previous year. So this guy, honestly, you're not going to go wrong with him. He's gonna be one of the best linebackers in the draft, and he just looking at the amount of tackles he has, that's
He's a tackle machine.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Devin Bush Jr. I like this guy. He had 95 his sophomore year and then 66 his senior year. He might have gotten injured, but I'm not sure. But that's still a decent amount of tackles. This guy's going to be good. He's from Michigan. And then my third linebacker is Mac Wilson from Alabama. I didn't get too much on this guy, but a lot of statisticians are saying he was pretty good. He had 65 total tackles last season, so this guy's on my number 3. And then for my number 4, I've got Blake Cashman, and he had 104 tackles. But he did go to Minnesota, so he did probably play some lower-end teams, but 104 is still a really good number, so I'm going to put him at my number 4. And then lastly, for my number 5, I'm not really sure how to say this guy's first name. I think it's Vosean Joseph. It's spelled Vosean. He's from Florida and had 93 total tackles last season. So that's a good amount of tackles for the team he plays for. He's at my number 5.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. My top 3 for linebackers is the exact same as you. Devin White, Devin Bush, and Mac Wilson.
Yeah.
Love them all. Can't go wrong with any of those guys.
Definitely. So, yeah, that's all I have for defense. Those are my top players at each position.
Well, then let's get right into it in the offense. So we'll just start it off with the quarterbacks. The man who's going probably number 1 overall to the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray from Oklahoma, Heisman Trophy winner. Obvious pick at number 1. Number 2 is going to be Dwayne Haskins. Number 3, my third-ranked quarterback is going to be Drew Lock from Mizzou. 4, Daniel Jones from Duke. And then number 5, I have Ryan Finley from NC State. So these quarterbacks, I don't think that this draft is as quarterback heavy as last year's draft. Last year we saw 4 quarterbacks go in the top 12. This year, I definitely don't think we're going to see even 2 quarterbacks go in the top 12. Maybe 2 with Dwayne Haskins, but that's a stretch. And I mean, Dwayne Haskins, he don't get me wrong, he's a great player, but he's not Sam Darnold, he's not Baker Mayfield, he's not Josh Rosen, so I just don't think that he's gonna go top 12.
I have your top 4 as well: Murray, Haskins, Locke, and Jones. My 5th, I got Brett Rippey from Boise State.
Yeah, and I mean, you could put him in there as well. I just put Ryan Finley in there because he had great stats. I mean, in my opinion, it is a 4 quarterback draft. In my opinion, there's only 4 real starting quarterbacks that I could see out of this draft. Even Daniel Jones is kind of a stretch. I don't know if he's even a starter, but Drew Lock, Kyler Murray, and Dwayne Haskins are definitely all 3 starters in my opinion. On to the running backs. I got the 2 pair Alabama running backs at number 1 and number 2. I got Josh Jacobs, number 1, obviously, and Damian Harris at number 2. My 3rd overall selection for the running backs would be Benny Snell, Jr. from Kentucky. And 4th would be Bryce Love from Stanford. And 5th is David Montgomery from Iowa State.
Bryce Love's a good one. I didn't think of him.
Yeah, Bryce Love's a sleeper because he did get hurt this season, so he didn't really play a lot. But he had a great season last year, and the year before that, he was even a Heisman Trophy candidate. So Bryce Love is definitely going to be a sleeper. Maybe some team will pick him up in the 2nd or 3rd round, and possibly get a franchise running back, maybe like an Alvin Kamara. Yeah, he could go even that late, you know what I mean? And look at Alvin Kamara or Kareem Hunt, all those guys, they went in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds. So Bryce Love could definitely be that guy for one of these teams looking for a running back. Benny Snell Jr., he is from Kentucky, played on the same team as Josh Allen, and he's going to be a super sleeper. I think he's going to be phenomenal. I mean, he's a running back that can do it all. He can run the ball through the tackles. He can run the ball on the outside. He can catch the ball. He can pass block. He's not necessarily the fastest kid out there, and he's not the greatest at making cuts, but he's an all-around running back that can do everything for you. And he's an every down back, which is very, very rare in this era of the NFL. So I really, really do love that guy. On to my wide receivers. So with my first wide receiver, I have to go with Hollywood Marquise Brown. Hollywood is his nickname, but he went to Oklahoma. He was one of Baker Mayfield's favorite targets last year when Baker Mayfield was there. And this kid is just a monster. I mean, he's a flying all around the field. He's super fast. He's a great wide receiver. Second, I have DK Metcalf from Ole Miss, and his teammate 3rd, A.J. Brown from Ole Miss. Both those guys are just athletic freaks. They both had insane combines.
Metcalf's insane, he's my favorite.
Have you seen a picture of these guys? Yeah, have you seen a picture of these guys? Like, they literally look like, bodybuilders, like they're wide receivers.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. N'Keal Harry and Riley Ridley are my 2 last receivers to round out this draft. I think this draft for wide receivers is going to be sneaky great. N'Keal Harry, he was probably my number 1 wide receiver coming off the board preseason before this season, but he didn't have that great of a season this year. It wasn't bad, but it was just average. It wasn't the breakout season that I thought he was going to have. So that's why he's dropped a couple spots. And Riley Ridley, he goes to Georgia. His brother Calvin Ridley is in the NFL, plays for the Atlanta Falcons with Julio Jones. And Riley Ridley is he's just another version of Calvin. He's a speedy wide receiver on the outside that can just go long and he'll, catch it almost every time. If you look, he had the most plays with over 40 yards this season in the whole NCAA.
Yeah.
So it was great for him. Alrighty, so just finished up on wide receivers. Now we're moving on to tight ends. This tight end draft is going to be very, very good as well, I believe. Starting with the two Iowa tight ends, TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant. Now, some people believe that Noah Fant is more suited for today's NFL because he's more of a receiving tight end, where I actually think that TJ Hawkinson is going to be better in the NFL overall. Because, I mean, TJ Hawkinson, you can have him out there every single down. He is the typical Rob Gronkowski, George Kittle, or Travis Kelce. I mean, he can do it all. He can block, he can catch screens, he can, go deep, he can catch, over the middle routes. I mean, this kid is just a monster. Not to mention, he's 6'6". He's a pretty big dude. Third, I've got Irv Smith Jr. from Alabama. I mean, Alabama has had some pretty great tight ends recently, with O.J. Howard. And, I mean, Irv Smith is just another one of those guys, and Alabama just produces, they just produce great players all over the field. So my fourth tight end is going to be Caleb Wilson from UCLA, and I'm rounding out the tight ends with Jace Sternberger from Texas A&M at my fifth slot. I really don't know how I feel about Caleb Wilson and Jace Sternberger. I mean, I think they can both be decent backups, but in my opinion, it's really a 3 tight end draft this year. It's either, I mean, you if you want a tight end, if you need one, you've got to pick one of these top 3 guys: TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, or Irv Smith. Now we're moving on to the offensive line position. I put both the offensive tackles and the offensive line in one section. So I've got Jonah Williams, number 1 overall. He's an offensive tackle for Alabama. He's a junior. He is huge, 6'7". He's a blindside tackle for Tua, and he's the greatest offensive lineman that I've ever seen out of Alabama. I mean, and Alabama has had some great offensive linemen, so I think he's going to be a monster in the NFL. I've got number 2, Jawan Taylor from Florida State, another great guy. Number 3, Andre Dillard from Washington State. Number 4 is going to be Cody Ford from Oklahoma. He's a center or guard. He can be either a center or a guard. And number 5 is going to finish my offensive lineman with Garrett Bradbury, NC State.
I was waiting for you to put in that Garrett Bradbury.
Yeah,
that's my number 1.
He's your number 1. I watched Garrett Bradbury. See, the reason why I don't have him higher, if it was just an offensive line, like just interior O-line, I would have him higher. But I prioritize offensive tackles over interior linemen.
I agree.
Just because, I mean, you got to protect your quarterback, man. You know what I mean? Like especially with the edge players and the defensive linemen that are coming out of this draft, you got to protect your quarterback. So it's going to be interesting what teams like the Jets or the Browns or the Bills, teams that got their quarterback last year or even a couple years ago, it's going to be interesting how they address their offensive line needs.
All right. I like it.
Alrighty. So now
that's all the positions, right?
That is all the positions except for special teams. But we don't like kickers here or punters. So
what's your favorite position out of all these?
I mean, I love running backs. Running backs are my all-time favorite. I've always loved running backs. But in this particular draft, my favorite has got to be the edge rushers. I mean,
I agree.
I am super in love with Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, Cleveland Farrell, Montez Sweat, all these guys. Like, I mean, I think they're all going to be great. you literally can't. I don't think you can go wrong.
Yeah. All right. So that's all we got for the top players at each position. I think it'd be good if we go over the free agency a little because there's just been so much going on And it's probably be good to cap off the episode there because we'll be about a little bit over an hour if we talk about those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, there's definitely been a lot going on in the free agency. Been some crazy signings, and honestly, this has been one of the craziest free agency signings. I got a notification at like 1:30 in the morning or something like that last night that Russell Wilson is the highest paid free agent now with 4 year, $140 million contract. That was pretty
Highest paid
insane.
player ever.
Yeah. I think we both picked three teams that were some winners and some losers of the draft. And I'm going to start off with my winners of the free agency. I think, and there was definitely a lot of winners, but for my top three, my first one, I got to go with the Raiders, honestly. I mean, yeah, Antonio Brown has already started some drama, but for what they got out of with him or for him is pretty crazy. All they had to give up was a third and fifth round pick for this Steelers MVP Pro Bowler every single year, was the highest paid receiver for the Steelers. That's my number one winner right there. Next up, I gotta go with the sneaky Lions because they've honestly been drafting some pretty good guys here. They got Danny Amendola for 1 year, only for 4.5 million. And they picked up Jesse James because they needed a tight end. And then they got Trey Flowers from the Patriots. That was a crazy pickup. That fool's a beast. My brother's a Patriots fan. He was pissed to see him go. And then they also got Justin Coleman from the Seahawks. He's a good DB as well. So they got some good all around players that I really like what the Lions are doing with this free agency. And then last up, of course, gotta go with the Browns. Of course, they get Odell Beckham for their first and third round pick and Jabril Peppers. I think that's a pretty fair trade for what they're getting, and also getting Sheldon Richardson with a 3 year, $39 million contract. I'm kind of scared to watch this Browns team play next year. They're gonna be really good.
And don't forget the sneaky Kareem Hunt signing. They're gonna have
Oh
him.
yeah,
They're
definitely.
gonna have him for
Well,
the last
how
8
long is he
games.
suspended?
He's suspended for
He
8
got
games.
suspended 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see how they do in the first 8 games, and then if they're good in the first 8 games, and watch out, they're gonna be even better with Kareem Hunt.
Yep.
And then I've also got some losers for the free agency. First one definitely got to go with the Giants. Just honestly, just losing Odell Beckham was a huge blow. He was honestly their most popular player, even over Eli Manning. Just it was tough to see him leave. They lost Oliver Vernon to the Browns as well. He was a good player for them, and also losing Landon Collins, their safety, to the Redskins. Just a lot of big blows, and honestly, it's just every year it just looks worse and worse for the Giants. They're starting to lose hope in Eli Manning. They're probably going to be looking for a quarterback this draft to replace him, but we'll see. Next up, I got to go with the Steelers. This has been a terrible offseason for them, just losing both Antonio Brown and Bell. Definitely was more expected to lose Bell just with all of the stuff that's been going on the past couple of years. But Antonio Brown was definitely a shock. He was playing so good for them this year. There was not really any drama or anything. And then the last game of the season, all this he just doesn't show up to the game, and then just all this stuff goes down. I feel like there's a lot of behind the stuff scenes we don't know about because they won't really say what happened in that last game of the regular season. But honestly, I don't really care anymore. I'm over it, and I'm just gonna move on to Juju Smith, see how well he's gonna do at that number one spot. And then my last loser, I've got the Redskins. Because, yes, they did get Landon Collins, but in my opinion, they paid him
they overpaid him.
way too much money
Mm-hmm.
to be a safety. Safeties aren't getting paid $84 million. That's quarterback money right there. He just got paid. They just paid him way too much. They lost a lot of money on that. And yeah, Landon Collins is good, but he's not the best safety in my opinion.
Oh
So
no,
I don't think he should have gotten paid
he's
that
not
much.
even. I mean, shoot, he might not even be top 3 anymore. And 3 years
Yeah,
ago, he was the best safety in the NFL. So,
yeah.
um,
So yeah, those are my top 3 winners and losers. You got some of yours, Brant?
yeah. So I'm surprised you didn't put the Jets in there, since you're hating all the time. But
I'm not
so
hating. Never hate on
I'm
them.
just kidding. So I got my winners. So number one, obviously, I mean, it's got to be the Cleveland Browns, dude. They just killed it this offseason. They got OBJ. They got uh, Olivier Vernon. They got Sheldon Richardson. They got Kareem Hunt. I mean, that's 4, maybe Pro Bowl level players if they're all healthy and they're playing all games. I mean, that just doesn't happen that often in one off season. So kudos to the Browns. They did pay a lot of money, but if you know who you want and if what type of team you want to build, go get those guys. You know what I'm saying? Number 2, I got my New York Jets. We signed Le'Veon Bell. We got C.J. Mosley. We got Jamison Crowder. We re-signed Henry Anderson to beef up our defensive line position, and we also have the number 3 overall pick. Not to mention that, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, I think the Jets did phenomenal this year. We really needed a inside linebacker, and we shored that up with C.J. Mosley. Dude's only 25 years old, so we're gonna have him for the next 5 years. Le'Veon Bell. I mean, what else is there to say about Le'Veon Bell? Everybody knows who Le'Veon Bell is. He's just going to be phenomenal for us. And Jamison
I'm
Crowder.
honestly so shocked the money he took from the Jets. Like, he could have made that amount of money if he didn't sit out with the Steelers. So
Yep,
I'm just so shocked he settled for that little amount of
exactly.
money.
I
Like,
think
yeah, it
I
was a
think
lot of
we got
money,
a good
but
deal
he
though.
was expecting a lot of money. So I'm
Yep,
so shocked he took that amount of money.
and I think we got a good deal for Le'Veon Bell. I mean, if you take into
Yeah, with how great he
consideration
is.
exactly, if you take into consideration what he was asking for and all that he does for the football team, I mean, dude, we got a good deal. We got a running back
Yeah.
and a receiver, And then number 3, I've got to agree with you on the Raiders. They killed it as well. They traded for Antonio Brown. They got their quarterback protector, Trent Brown. And I mean, they've got 3 first-round picks this year, so I'm eager to see what they do with that. And it should be looking up for the Raiders. No more 4-12 seasons. So my losers, I mean, it was kind of hard to pick some losers this year because, I mean, not a lot of teams really did lose out this year other than the Giants. Obviously, they had a horrible offseason. They lost Odell Beckham. They lost Landon Collins. They lost Olivier Vernon. And all they got back in return was re-signing Sterling Shepard and, Jabril Peppers. I mean,
Yeah.
and they don't even they have they don't even have a top 10 pick. I don't think they have. I think they're 11th, right? Or
Who are we talking about?
the
The
Giants?
Browns? Oh,
No, the
no.
Giants.
Giants.
I think they're 11th, or they might be.
Honestly, not sure.
But anyway, I mean, nothing is gonna put a Band-Aid on what Odell did to you. Odell just ripped your heart out, Giants fans. Number 2, I'm gonna have to go with the Steelers. They lost Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. Now, I mean, they aren't in as bad of a position as the Giants, obviously, because the Steelers do have great replacements for those guys. They have James
Giants actually
Conner.
do have a top 10 pick. They're at
Oh, they
number
do.
6.
Oh,
And
okay,
they
gotcha.
also have the 17th pick. So that's actually really good. They have 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, they got Cleveland's pick for Odell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, still not top 5. If you don't take a quarterback, if you don't get a quarterback, Giants fans, I don't know what's going to happen for the
I'm
next
sure they
3 or
will
4
because
years.
I don't think the top 5 are really all looking for quarterbacks, so they'll probably get someone.
No, yeah, you're right. And so the Steelers, I mean, Yeah, they have great backups. They'll be good this year. They'll still be great, and they still have a legitimate chance of winning that division, even with losing Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. But it's tough. I mean, losing two
Got
All
to keep
Pros.
James Conner and Juju healthy.
Exactly. Losing two All Pros in 1 year is really going to hurt you, but they are very lucky. They are very fortunate that they
Yeah,
have
but if you
James
do
Conner
look at
and
it, we
Juju.
were already without Le'Veon Bell, so
Yeah,
because he didn't play last season. So
yeah, you're right. And then number 3, I actually think that the Lions are a loser this year.
really,
Yes. Oh man, Trey Flowers is one of the most overrated players in the whole NFL. He is
oh my
so
god,
overrated, so
shut
overrated.
up!
Yes. No, literally, dude played the Jets 4 times in the past 2 years, had 0 sacks. And that's against the Jets, my guy. I've watched all those games. Dude did nothing, and
You
I,
can't
I
get a
mean.
sack against everyone.
You're right. You can't get a sack against everybody, but if you're going to pay a guy $90 million, that I don't know. It's better be somebody better than Trey Flowers, dude. That's all I'm going to say. Um,
All
and
right, I
and
respect
Danny
that.
Amendola is washed up. I don't think Danny Amendola is not that great. There's a reason why they signed him to a 1-year deal, and then Jesse James, that was a good pickup. I think that they definitely need a tight end. I mean, they ended up losing Ebron after last offseason, so they definitely needed to fill that gap. But you can't, just because you got a lot of money doesn't mean you have to spend it. You know what I mean? I just don't think that the Lions needed to spend all that money that they had this year, especially with all the big names that are going to be coming out next year in free agency as well.
All right, agree to disagree. Yeah, I think that's all we're talking about today. A little bit past our time. We were going to talk about the top paid free agents, but I think we can move that back to next week. That's definitely something I want to talk about.
Yeah, we'll hit on that
Um,
because a couple guys still need to sign their contracts and stuff like that. And I mean, you
yeah, there
never
might be
you
some
never
big
know who could get
contracts coming up this
extended
week.
and stuff. Like Russell Wilson did
Yeah.
last night.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's all I've got for you guys today. Where can they find you, Brant?
Oh, they can find me over on Twitter at Smooth TV with 3 O's. And you can find me on Instagram, Brant_22. And yeah, I mean, you can also find me on this podcast every week, once a week on Tuesdays is the day that we record. So there we go.
You can find me on Instagram at logant.harris. My Twitter is loganharris59 with an underscore at the end. And then you could also see my YouTube where I do tech reviews if you're interested in that at all. It's called Product Prodigy. And yeah, that's all we've got for you guys today. Make sure you have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
See ya.